Welcome to the AI for Career Success podcast by Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. This is episode 153. I'm Fred.
And I'm Daphne.
Today we're going to be talking about something our producer, Curt Robbins, suggested we look into. It's really the foundational layer of this whole AI revolution, the chips themselves.
The silicon, yeah. It's the engine room for everything that's happening.
We're looking at an article from John Thomas, published on LinkedIn back on December 30th, 2025. It's called Insatiable Demand for AI Chips Shows No Signs of Abating.
And our mission here is to figure out where the real long-term money is. Is it in the hardware, the chips, or is it in all of the services and the apps that are built on top of them?
Exactly. And for anyone managing or implementing AI, knowing that is, well, it's critical for your strategy. Okay, so let's start with the scale of this. The growth is just, it's staggering. The entire semiconductor industry globally hit a record $400 billion in sales in 2025. That was a record.
A record that's about to look tiny, because 2026 is where things are set to just explode, and it's all driven by that insatiable demand for AI chips. And you just can't talk about that without talking about NVIDIA.
The numbers for NVIDIA are, well, almost hard to believe. Goldman Sachs estimates their sales alone could hit $383 billion.
Let that sink in. The entire industry just hit $400 billion. NVIDIA is positioned to basically become the market, all on its own.
They're the default choice, right, for training these huge foundational models.
Absolutely. They're the baseline that everyone else is measured against.
But, the commentary also points to some serious roadblocks. It's not just a clear path forward. We're hearing about component shortages.
Right. Things like advanced packaging, specialized memory.
And maybe more importantly, the financing. I mean, who keeps paying for these incredibly expensive data centers? Is that sustainable?
And that right there, that's the pivot point. The cost leads directly to the biggest question in the market, commoditization.
The idea that these super expensive high-margin chips could become, well, just another low-margin part.
Exactly. And a lot of smart money is betting it'll happen faster than people think. Because it's happened before. Raw compute power always, eventually, becomes a commodity.
There's a really interesting bit of evidence for this. Peter Thiel's fund, they're known for making these big contrarian bets. Filings show they quietly sold their entire position in NVIDIA in the third quarter of 2025.
Wow. That is a massive vote of no confidence in the long-term hardware margins.
It just speaks to that historical pattern you mentioned.
It does. Think about it. In the PC era, what happened to CPUs?
Commoditized.
Memory, DRAM.
Commodity.
Even cloud computing itself turned into a massive price war. The second a good enough alternative shows up that's cheaper, those crazy margins just disappear.
So who's building those alternatives? This is the hyperscaler rebellion, isn't it?
That is the perfect way to put it. The giants, Google, Amazon, Meta, they are just tired of paying what they call the NVIDIA tax.
So they're building their own.
They're pouring billions into their own custom silicon. It's about cutting costs, of course, but also gaining efficiency. They want hardware that's perfectly tailored to their own AI software.
And these aren't just copies. Google's TPUs, their tensor processing units, are a great example. They're built specifically for training huge models like Gemini.
That's the key. Amazon has its Trainium chips for training and Inferentia for inference for running the models. Anthropic is already using them, and Meta has their MTIA chip.
So when every single major customer decides to become a competitor, that puts enormous pressure on NVIDIA's business model.
It has to. And it suggests the real money is going to shift.
Up the stack, as they say.
Right. Away from the raw silicon and toward the platforms and apps. The value moves closer to the user, to whoever owns the workflow, the subscription. The services layer almost always wins out over infrastructure on margins in the long run.
Let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Curt Robbins.
Hi, this is Curt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the AI for Career Success podcast. Okay, so we've laid out this huge threat to NVIDIA from the hyperscalers, but they're still the king. So what's their defense? What's their moat?
Well, their moat is really twofold. First is just raw, bleeding-edge performance. For the absolute biggest training jobs, they are still ahead. Rivals get close, but NVIDIA just keeps moving the goalposts.
And the second part of that mode is the software.
It's the software. It's CUDA. CUDA is their computing platform, and it's basically the universal language for AI development.
Right. Years and years of development, thousands of researchers and apps are all built on it.
So even if a rival chip is a little faster, a little cheaper, the cost and hassle of rewriting all your code to move away from CUDA, it's almost insurmountable right now.
Okay, but there's a technical crisis happening here too, something called the memory wall.
Yes. This is a huge deal. AI isn't really limited by processing speed anymore. The thinking part is incredibly fast. The problem is getting the data to the processor.
So the GPU, this $40,000 chip, is actually just sitting there idle, waiting for data.
For significant periods, yes. It's waiting for these massive data sets to be pulled from memory. It's like a Formula One engine being refueled with a garden hose. The bottleneck isn't the engine, it's the fuel line.
So the challenge shifts from how fast can we calculate to how fast can we move data.
Exactly. And all the hardware innovation now is focused on that. Things like HBM3E, which is high bandwidth memory, and 3D packaging, where they are literally stacking the memory right on top of the processor to shorten the distance.
This all seems to tie into a bigger strategic shift in the industry, away from training and toward inference.
Inference is the future, because that's the volume. Training a model is a one-time huge cost. Running it millions or billions of times for users, that's inference. And it has to be cheap and fast.
Which brings us to Edge AI, NPU's neural processing units, in our phones, in our cars.
That's where the real efficiency battle is. Every millisecond, every watt of power counts.
And NVIDIA sees this coming. Their acquisition of Grok, a company that specializes in super-fast inference.
That was a brilliant strategic move. They saw a potential threat in the low-latency market and just bought it. They're trying to control the entire pipeline, from the chip to the memory to the software.
So while this battle of giants is happening, there are these other, less obvious winners. The plumbing plays.
Yes, the companies that are just indispensable, they're the bottlenecks in the supply chain. And number one on that list is TSMC.
Taiwan Semiconductor. They manufacture the chips for almost everyone, right?
For everyone at the cutting edge, yes. And making these chips isn't just a simple factory process. It's almost a handcrafted art form that requires insane amounts of capital and protected IP. If you're NVIDIA or Amazon and you can't get production slots at TSMC, your growth just stops. Dead.
So they have enormous market leverage. And who's the second one?
Broadcom. People overlook them, but they make the networking fabric. It's the super high-speed connections that link thousands of GPUs into a single cluster. You can't train a massive model without it.
This brings up a good point about market caution. All this hardware costs a fortune. NVIDIA is selling the shovels in a gold rush, sure, but a lot of the AI companies are just burning through cash to buy them.
And we're already seeing the strain. RAM prices are going up. It's getting hard to get your hands on high-end video cards. This is a real warning sign for professionals.
What do you mean?
I mean that the current low prices you might be paying for some AI services. That could be temporary. It might be artificially low. If you're a startup building your business on cheap API access, you need to be ready for the moment the real costs hit.
So let's try to bring this all together. The future of AI profitability really comes down to one question, doesn't it?
It does.
Is it going to be NVIDIA's vertical integration? Or will the hyperscalers, this alliance of giants, finally break that hold with their own custom silicon?
And for you, the professional listening to this, the main takeaway is that semiconductors are the fundamental bottleneck. You have to plan your AI projects not just for performance, but for future cost, especially inference cost.
And what does that look like in practice?
It means designing for cheap inference. Make your solutions lightweight, fast, maybe run them on the edge. And when you're dealing with cloud providers, build in flexibility. Don't get locked into one type of custom chip.
So you can switch between Google's TPUs and Amazon's Trainium if a price war starts.
Exactly. That flexibility is your leverage.
Yeah. There's a final thought from Ariel Serber's commentary that I think sums it up. He says, this tech is going to be hugely important in our lives forever, from curing diseases to self-driving cars. But the core lesson for us is simple. If you understand the hardware, the silicon, you understand the ceiling of the entire AI economy.
That's the foundation everything else is built on.
Thank you for listening to the AI for Career Success podcast from Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.